Howdy doody. Welcome to the French News Hour, presented to you by Bummer Dude Media. Today is May the 31st, 2023. My name is Frank. His name is Alex. How you doing? How are you?
Doing great. I wanted to start today's show off by wishing my beautiful, smart, amazing wife happy birthday. Happy birthday, Sarah.
Happy birthday, SK.
Turns 33 today.
SK, excuse me. Sorry.
SK, yeah. Which officially makes her 2 years older than me, and thus starts the portion of the year where I refer to her as a cougar until I turn my next year and become 32, and then we're only a year apart again. So,
well, good for you, Al. Good for you for getting on the cougar train. What's a male cougar?
Liger.
A liger?
I don't know. A lion? I don't know what it would be. A bear? That's a whole different thing.
Like 4 years younger than me, 3 years younger than me.
Oh, yeah. It could be sugar daddy.
Yeah, that.
Or just daddy.
I feel like it's just a creep. You're an older guy. There's no like honor in that.
Isn't it weird to think like age gaps? Like when you're in a high school, 4-year age gap is large. Like you would have been a junior or a senior in high school dating an 8th grader. But like now that's nothing. And like there's gaps where people are 8-10 years older, younger, and it's like it's so weird how like that changes. What is that threshold when the weirdness lifts, you know? 25?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like a social experiment I don't want to be a part of. I don't ponder such questions, middle school. I'm pure of heart. Pure of heart and mind.
Oh, man. How was your holiday, man?
You know what? It was actually really great. Spent a lot of time with friends this weekend.
Nice.
So it was great. It was really, really fun, actually.
You guys cook out or do anything cool?
No, we went to a little park around here. It's called Kate Sessions Park. It sits above a hill. I don't know if we ever took you there. It sits above a hill, above like Mission Bay on the other side, and just looks all the way down into Mission Bay, and then you see like downtown in the distance. And
you can see all of the whale's vagina.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I don't think we have.
It's a great spot. So we just went out there. Everyone brought some drinks and their own food, and we just kicked it.
Nice, dude.
Brought the baby and laid down some blankets. Had a great time. Had a whale of a time.
I asked
about you.
It was good, man. Chilled with the family, and that's always a fun time. And got to grill. That's really why I brought it up, is because
grilling weather. Man,
the grilling weather is officially upon us, and I've grilled a few times this year. My goal this year is to utilize that tool more. But I wanted to ask you what your favorite thing is to throw on the grill. Like, is it a standard? Like, honestly, I really like cooking cheeseburgers. Like, I love being like a Philadelphia Collins, Randy Bobandy kind of man, and just sometimes even taking the shirt off and just flipping some burgers.
Yeah,
you know,
push out the gut a little bit.
Yeah, and like getting that timing just right, so you get just that little bit of medium in there. You know, and it's a science. Like the burgers we cook are usually a little thicker, so it's harder to judge that. But when I get it right, it just feels good.
Over the charcoals.
Pigeon? Like chicken?
I do like chicken. Actually, you know what's really good on the grill? I think it's like underrated. Is some like chicken thighs, like teriyaki chicken thighs.
Ooh.
You get that nice caramelization.
I might have to do that. I just bought a shit ton of thighs from Costco because I do.
They're so cheap.
Yeah, they are so cheap. And I do like shredded chicken, like slow cooker for chicken tacos.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And the thigh meat's what you want for that, I feel like. But I need to try them on the grill. Do they cook pretty quick? Because it's kind of a thin, you dig.
Yeah, I guess it depends what thighs you get. If you have like the boneless, skinless, yeah, man, they'll cook up pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's great taco meat.
Yeah.
Real good taco meat. Chop it up real nice and fine. Yeah.
But you mentioned meeting with friends. I have to imagine that that's somewhat bittersweet. I don't even know if the listeners have formally known yet, but this is your last week in San Diego.
It is. I haven't, I don't think I've made it public. Not that it's a secret or anything. But yeah, we're moving. We're moving across the country on Sunday. So excuse me if my mind is elsewhere this morning. We're packing up and we're moving.
Where are you moving for the listeners?
Upstate New York. I'll keep the exact location somewhat private, but we're moving to New York State. And you're probably thinking, why are you doing that? It was funny. I was talking to some friends this weekend, and I was like, yeah, it's probably like at least the second most blue state in the union, next to California.
Yeah.
not that I don't care about the politics, but it does affect the way you live there. But all that's run by New York City. So we to the extent that we're affected by it on a state level is one thing, but it's going to be very much small town living, and we're not.
I'd have to imagine most of the people you're surrounded by are like-minded.
Yeah, and so we're doing the damn thing.
It's exciting. It seems like it's bittersweet for you a little bit, though. You don't seem as excited. Like, are you?
I'm stoked. Don't get me wrong.
Are you?
It's just
Okay.
I have in between this moment and the final destination, I literally have a mountain of tasks to accomplish. So like it dampers the excitement a little bit, but once we get on the road, I think I'll be good. Once I know that everything fits and that we're good to go. But yeah, no, I'm stoked. I mean, San Diego's home. I love it. I'll never not love it. I'll always miss it when I'm not here, but we've talked about getting out of here for a while. And I think this is the opportunity is really good. And it's a good way for just us to untether ourselves. And New York is definitely not the final destination. Like this will be very much a temporary thing, but it's like the in between before we find out where we really want to be.
Right.
And we have some time to explore and figure it out. So no, dude, I am stoked. California and San Diego in particular has become a place where it's impossible to raise a family and live the life that you want to live on even like a really good salary.
Yeah. I mean, not that homeless isn't as bad as it is in like LA and whatnot, but like still like to spend all that money and just still see like tons of homeless and all that shit. Like it's just, I don't know. It's like the weather. It's like the trade-off for like almost perfect weather year round. Although I know you guys had a lot of rain this year, but
yeah, it's a tough one. And like, dude, I think at least I'm speaking for myself. I'm fully willing to admit when the time comes, if the time comes, that this was not the right move.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much
fully willing to.
You have the ultimate fallback plan though to go back to San Diego.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's going to be amazing. What's Jack feeling like about it? Because I mean, me and you've moved, you've lived in other places your whole life. You know, like throughout your different years since high school. But like, Jack's never lived anywhere else other than Southern California, right?
I don't think. No, she has not.
Yeah.
And
Is she nervous?
I don't want to put words in her mouth, but if I could get a read on her, it would be that everything we're doing is, with the kid in mind. Mm-hmm. And so we have a good little strategy for the baby. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to have like unlimited us time.
Right.
With
True.
the baby. Yeah.
True.
Selfishly, I think admittedly. And so I think that's one thing. And another thing we've talked about is just like life slowing down. As fun as it is to live in San Diego and as awesome it is to live here, we're always on the move, like 24/7. There's something planned, like almost every night with somebody doing something. And I just don't like people that much, Al.
I feel you, dude.
I just don't like people that much, even the
nice
people I love.
Yeah, it is nice that you're going to have family where you're moving to. So it's like you still have some people to like help get you familiar with the area, hang out with when you want to. But like you're saying, you're not going to know many people. So it's going to be a very family oriented and slower kind of thing. And that's great. Yeah,
man. It's going to be awesome. If family's important, I think that, that's the crux of all of it. Right? If there wasn't family there, then it wouldn't even be in the conversation. We would still be living here trying to figure out what the next move is. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. Like a lot of people here in San Diego will talk about leaving, right? They'll talk about the expensiveness of it and how unrealistic it is and the juxtaposition between the outrageous cost of living and the homelessness and everything that goes in with it. But it's really tough thing altogether to actually leave, to actually go.
For sure, man.
And I think it helps that I've done it before because now it's not like as daunting of a thing. I don't have like any romanticism about where I'm going. Not really, at least. I know what it's about. And I've tried to set some expectations. But anyway, man, getting out, making the move, taking that step, I think it's great. And we're forming a life that we want to live. And we're doing the things that are necessary to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And we want to be mobile. We want to be able to travel. We want to be able to not be tethered so much so to geography or and at least while the kid doesn't have any place to be, right?
Yeah, right. Before it gets into like formal schooling, right?
Right.
Yeah. Are you going to try to like seek out friends there, like try to join, any kind of social groups or like a golf league or anything like that, or are you not really interested in expanding your circle of friends?
Yeah, well, I hear the racism is just off the charts, so I'm sure there'll be a group I fit right into. You know what? That's a really good question, because when you move to a new place, it's temporary, it's hard to create lasting relationships. Mm-hmm. I've had this experience firsthand. You feel like you don't give a shit more. And that's a really good question. But I do think that we're going to feel the loss of friendships.
Yeah.
And it's going to be we're going to want to be able to call somebody to come over and have share a bottle of wine.
Right.
And if that's, not my family there, because they'll be busy, we're going to want it to be somebody else. And plus, you get tired of seeing the same people all the time. So we definitely want to expand our reach out there. But also, we also want to explore the area, and to the extent that we can do that, I don't know, like maybe we'll find people that love to travel in the region. I don't know. Yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be tough. But like, there's so many places that we haven't been around that that are within 3 to 5 hour drive. So that's going to be a big focus of just going and seeing. Yeah.
I asked because I remember, last week we went out and saw our buddy Chris Calley out in Portland. He moved out there like 7 months ago, I think. Him and his girlfriend Cheyenne and their son Sonny. And it was good to see him, man. I missed the shit out of that guy. And one thing he had mentioned is just like it's the adjustment has been a little tough for him, because he's not, his personality. He's not like crazily outgoing in like the way to like make friends in that regard.
Right.
And he kind of said that's been a challenge, and that at first when you move to a place can kind of set some kind of a negative light to it. I remember when I moved to Chicago, it was the same thing, man. I moved here completely by myself, knew nobody, and wasn't starting school for like 2 months. So it was just like me in this big city, and I spent way more time in my studio apartment than I should have, instead of getting out there and doing whatever, trying to meet people, whatever. But it's tough, dude. It's super tough.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's something to be said about leaving, not just the area, but the relationships that you built.
Your ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. But as soon as I did, and those relationships really through, not even as much through school, but through once I got a job and started kicking it with those people and expanding the circle, this place began to feel more and more like home. To the point where, dude, I've lived in Chicago for a third of my life now. Like, it's nuts to think about, but like, this is home now. But it's just, man, I just remember it being so hard. And maybe it's easier for you because it's not, you have an idea, you have expectations for how long you'll be there, and that could always change. But like, and having family there. But I just shout out to Chris, man, because they're doing great shit out there, and I'm really, really proud of them for making a move across the country like that. And they said to say hi to everybody, so this is me saying hi.
Yeah, and I know, like, it doesn't make sense. We're kind of going in the opposite direction. we're not fleeing out west. We're going to the muck. But yeah, man, that culture shock, I think a lot of that has to do not just with the new area and the new places and getting used to a new area. There's a certain amount of excitement that goes along with that sadness as well, realizing that this isn't the same. This is very different, and you don't know anybody or anything. But not being able to like just call up a friend and go for a walk, or just do anything, go get a beer, right? Like that stuff is underrated when you're thinking about this kind of move. So,
dude, maybe we need to bring back Zoom trivia then, brother.
Oh, brother!
Me and Sarah were just talking about it yesterday, man. That
literally that gives me PTSD. That
dude,
triggers me.
That when I think of the beginning of COVID, man, that is a shining highlight to me. That was so fun.
It was fun. You know what else was fun? Like almost all of COVID for me.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude!
Like go playing trivia, not working. Yeah, it was great. It was a great time.
A lot of Call of Duty. But that also started my Call of Duty addiction, so I don't know. That could have been a bad thing.
Yeah,
or video gaming addiction.
Yeah, that's one thing. Talking about untethering, I will be bringing no video game system with me, which I'm very excited about.
Really? What are you doing with the PS4?
Oh, who knows? Give it to charity.
Oh, Frank, I'm gonna miss you, man.
Go corrupt some other young soul.
What is your reasoning there? Don't you think you'll have more free time on your hands?
Yeah, I would not like to fill it with virtual murder. Constant battle. No, man, it's a time suck. It really is. Look, it's an addiction. It's an addiction, Al. There's no two ways about it. And you can have fun playing it, and you can have a great time with your friends, and that's all nice and well, but let's call it what it is. It's an addiction, and I have an addictive personality. I do things to excess, video games being one of them, and I would like to be a little bit more constructive with my time, so I made the conscious decision to not bring any video games.
Nice, dude. Nice. Speaking of Seattle and Portland, man, we were just out there, and dude, their problem might be almost worse than San Diego's, at least, and probably not LA's, but they have a serious problem up in those cities. Yeah. Dude, downtown Portland was disgusting.
It's rough.
I was not a fan. I love the surrounding area of Portland, and when you get kind of into all the little like boroughs outside of downtown, it's awesome, and it's got like a hip vibe and great food. Downtown Portland was just gross to me, and then like Seattle does a better job of hiding it. It's just like in little clusters of homeless, like it seems like. But aside from the homeless, like that area of the country, man, is one of my favorites, dude. I love it up there. The hiking out there is beautiful. We found this lake called Rattlesnake Lake outside of Seattle. It's like only about 25-30 minutes from Seattle. Beautiful hiking, man. It was glorious. The lake has like all these big ass boulders and stumps that come out of the lake that look like little like spines and shit. And then you can take like it's about like a 2-hour hike up to like a lookout. They kind of, I think it was like 1,200 feet up, and it's just glorious. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. But like just the hiking out there is just awesome. One thing I don't love though, and that's just kind of whenever you're around mountains, I guess, it's like so many cool things look so close to you, but then you go to like Google Map your distance, like your ETA to them, and it's 2.5 hours, even though it's 60 miles away. It's like, fuck, like want to go see Mount Rainier, but it's literally like almost 3 hours to get there. It's 6 hours of driving in a day.
Yeah, it's a lot more spacious than I think people realize out in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Beautiful countryside. The city's a little sus.
Yeah,
a lot of tents. Sure. Should have invested in Camping World stock.
What I did see though is they're doing, especially in Seattle, there's a ton of tiny home communities where they're like basically, you know, like the sheds you can buy. You can buy them at Home Depot, dude. They're doing like full neighborhoods that look like Bubbles, like his little shed from Trailer Park Boys. It's just like rows and rows of them where the homeless live. I don't know if they charge them or whatever the arrangement is, but that looks way fucking better than tent cities all under all your underpasses and all that shit. Like I did like that. I'd never seen that in a city before.
Yeah, you know, it's the different approaches that these cities take are interesting because none of them can solve the problem. And they can't say that publicly. You can't go out and say, I can't solve this massive humanitarian crisis that's going on in the city that I'm supposed to be leading. You can't, if you're a politician, you can't admit your incompetence. But they're all incompetent. And one argument that I'm warming to, I'm not hot on it yet, but I'm warming to it, is that homelessness is a housing problem before it's anything else, right?
Yeah.
You could go down the list and say like, okay, this person is homeless, and you could figure out why. Maybe they're, to me, in my mind, if you're homeless and you're seeking help and then you get out of being homeless, that's a homeless person. Somebody who lives on the street in a tent is a whole different thing for me.
True.
But then I hear the argument that 100% of homeless people are not housed. And I know that's like on the face, you're like, duh. But then you think about every homeless person across the spectrum of anybody who is living on the street. And you could say that a certain percentage of them are mentally ill, or they have this problem or that problem. They're addicted to drugs, but like not all of them. So even if it's like 85% of the people that are out on the streets have some sort of mental illness, like diagnosable mental illness, or they're addicted to drugs, or both, there's still a certain percentage that isn't. But 100% of them don't have a shelter. And so that idea of those tiny houses doesn't solve anything. Like, it doesn't solve anything. These people are still in despair, and you could make a rosy picture like, oh yeah, they're going to get the ability to go and find a job, and they have an address, and they can get their life back together. I'm not optimistic about that. But what I do like is the fact that there's actually something trying to be done. And they're not just like throwing millions of dollars into ideas like San Diego does.
I had never seen in a city so many needle drop boxes as in Seattle. It was weird.
Were
Do
they
have
giving,
them out in LA?
Were they
Is that
giving
popular?
needles away or crack pipes away?
Not that I
do that in
saw.
San
They do
Francisco.
that? Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow. That's so.
If you're gonna spew,
weird.
spew into this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's like.
Oh shit.
Dude, San Francisco's
just-
awful,
just
man.
weird.
It's rough. It's rough out there.
I didn't notice it when we were out there. Has it gotten worse in like the last 8
When
years?
were you in
or-
San Francisco?
When we went there, when you were living in San Jose.
It's a completely different city.
Really?
It's a completely different city. I don't know. We may or may not have talked about. I don't think we did. Every single store on Market Street, like where the big shops were, all the shops, every one of them gone. Boom, they pulled out.
Yeah.
They are no longer in San Francisco. And it's even gotten to the point where like even like super liberal people, which is the majority of San Francisco, are saying like, yeah, dude, this is not, no more. We can't like, I don't care what you call me. I don't care what you say. This is not, we need to fight crime. We need to get after this.
Is it spilling over into like Silicon Valley at all too? Or do they kind of keep that? Is it like a Calabasas kind of thing where they have the affluence to say, get the fuck out of here?
San Francisco, Oakland, East Bay area, like they're their own different thing. The Silicon Valley will have like even like San Jose is like the capital of the Silicon Valley, and it's got a problem for sure.
Wow.
Third largest city in California, I think. San Jose. So anytime you have over 1 million people in a state like California, you're going to get these type of problems. It's a sad thing.
That's tough. Yeah, it is.
It's a sad thing.
It definitely is.
It's a sad thing because I don't know you could tie this into homelessness, but I guess you can in a sense. We asked a question today on Facebook about intervening. It's like if you were to see a woman that you don't know, stranger, just a woman, in broad daylight, get smacked by a dude, just right across the face, open palm, smack. Do you intervene in that?
Is this like a normal dude or is this like a Terry Crews dude?
Let's say he's a normal looking fella.
Okay.
5'7", 5'8", 165 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely. If I think I'm going to go and get my fucking ass beat to put my neck where my business, where like it doesn't necessarily belong, I probably wouldn't do that if I'm like with my family and shit. But yeah, I mean, I would at least say something like, whoa, dude, what's going on? What's going on?
Sounds like convenient courage to me.
Bro, I'm not that. You never know what the dynamic is, like, and to interject yourself into situations, you never know what the fuck could happen. Like, you never know. So I would be cautious, I guess, if it was like a bigger dude or if it was like with a group of dudes. I'm not gonna, like I said, with my family or something. But yes, like the chivalrous man in me would have to intervene. Like to a point, yeah, you'd have to be like, well, are you okay? Like at least try to separate them or get the woman away. What do you think?
I think that, so you said like, you never know. I think in this situation, you do know. You know something, right? If you see a guy smack a woman, you don't know any of these people, but you see him smack a woman in broad daylight. That's an unhinged individual.
Yeah.
That's a person
who could have a gun on him,
who's willing to go way further than you're willing to go.
Exactly, which is like if he has a gun on him and he wants to shoot you, and
Not
you're
even a
about
gun,
to die
like,
for someone you don't even know, like what, that's not my business to at a point defend.
I think the message that's being sent loud and clear all over the country is that if you intervene in a crime and you commit a crime during that intervention, you're going to be prosecuted. Not the person that committed the original crime, right? It's like in football. Like the person who gets flagged is the person who retaliates. It's not the person who did the pushing first, right?
Right.
My answer is absolutely not. I don't intervene in anything, much less somebody who's willing to smack a woman in broad daylight. And you might think like, oh, okay, like Like, that's not me. Like, I'm going to white knight for this because I was taught to defend women's honor. Like, okay, fine. Good for you. I'm glad that that's how you feel. But as soon as you intervene with somebody like that, who you don't know about, you've now put yourself in danger and your entire family in danger. Especially if you're a man and you have a family who counts on you, now you've put all of them in danger because you've walked into an unpredictable situation where the variables are endless and almost all of them are dangerous. So dude, I say I intervene 0 times. I say I feel very sorry for that woman. Maybe call the police, maybe get the authorities involved, maybe get somebody who's licensed to carry a gun and shoot it. Not me, brother. I'm not doing that for anybody.
I'm so interested if you could use that as like a polling question politically between like left and right, what those results would show. Because like the right is kind of like, I'm gonna with most of their policies, like I'm worried about me and mine, focus on this. I'm not gonna buy into, I don't want to support programs like welfare and all like other shit that helps people. Like it's capitalism. That's their focus.
Well, I think it's a very charitable view
left,
of,
it's like, let's help everybody.
Right, but anyway, keep going.
But on the left, it's like, let's help everybody. Let's donate in these things, healthcare for everybody. So it's like, if you ask this question to them, do most Democrats say yes, you intervene, and most Republicans say no?
I think it's an unfair question to ask people.
I'm so curious
because I think in the moment they're going to want to say what they want people to think of them. You want people to think that you can be that hero, that you would stand up for the honor of an innocent woman.
I can be your hero, baby.
But no, like,
but yeah, I know. Yeah,
I don't know how to fight. I've never had any formal training in martial arts, in anything.
Have you ever been in a fight?
No. What am I going to fight for?
Franklin, I'm going to fight you.
You'll probably whoop my ass, dude. Honestly, like, I'm not even, I'm a big dude. I feel like I can hold my own, but I've never been tested. I've never put myself in a position to be tested.
How's that jaw hold up? How's that jaw? Is it a glass jaw?
No, I'll probably fold like a freaking cheap chair. But I think it's an important thing to remember that, like, let's even draw this out a different way. Let's say you do intervene and you end up disarming this person, or you successfully remove him from the harm he was committing to another person. You will get sued and you will lose. That's guaranteed. Mm-hmm. You will get sued and you will lose. And God forbid, you're a white guy doing it to a black guy. Then you'll go to jail. You'll go to jail.
Then it's a hate crime. Yeah.
So I think,
what happened to the guy down in New York? Has anything developed there?
No.
Yeah. No, it's just still going to trial. I saw that he did get charged
with manslaughter.
Yeah.
So you'll get charged with manslaughter for doing, quote, the right thing. And I think it's unfortunate. Obviously, it's unfortunate. You would, ideally, you're in a society where you can step outside your door, and there's honor amongst men, and everybody thinks it's a bad idea that you hit this woman, and everybody agrees that you don't do that, and you standing up for that woman is enough. It's enough, so much so that, like, the person who did it wouldn't even think of retaliating against you for stopping him from abusing a woman physically.
I'll also say this, though, like, if it was with a group of people I know or at like a party with mostly people I know, I would intervene at that point. Like, if I saw you wheel off and just smack Jack in the face, I'd be like,
whoa,
I would definitely intervene.
What did she do?
Again, I mean, if you did it again.
These things are subjective.
But no, like, if you take away the random stranger thing to it, and I'm familiar with the people, whether I'm best friends with the dude or not, like, I would absolutely intervene in that scenario.
A completely different situation.
It's different.
Yeah, a completely different situation. Sure. And, like, I don't think you should ever
what did you do?
Put up with your friends abusing their partner, even if they did deserve it. And maybe she deserved it, bro. No. I'm not even saying she did. What I'm saying is that I think that's good that you would intervene that way. And I would expect that of my friends, and I think I would agree with you there too. Like, if it was within the familiarity of a group of people that I knew, and I saw that happening, especially to somebody who I knew, not that anybody has any business hitting anybody, but like there would never be justification for that for me, and certainly not from you to be doing that. But you know that. What I'm saying is that it's everybody for themselves out there. Really true. Like we were taking a walk one day and Jacqueline saw this homeless person like on the street and she wanted to call the cops because she was like concerned for this guy's safety. It's a noble thing to do. I did not like that she got involved. And there's no reason for me not to like that.
Fuck no. Those guys are wild cards, bro. They are, dude. You don't even know. In Seattle, we just saw a dude standing facing a corner and just going, like screaming at the top of his lungs, and we're just crossed the road and got the fuck out of there, bro. It's
no,
like,
you don't.
You do not know what these people are going to do. I'm not trying to interact, help, anything. Fuck that.
And it sucks, man. It really does. I really do wish we were at the crossroads where we're like, all right, well, did this person deserve whatever he got? Hopefully they didn't die, but maybe they got maimed or a broken nose or something happened because they were fucking around in a way they shouldn't. And we're a self-governing people and we self-govern. I'm not saying take the law into your hands. I'm saying there's an aspect outside of the law that this society and this culture operates in. And if we can't call a bad thing, and everybody agree that it's a bad thing, and that the consequences of you doing that bad thing, like hitting a woman in broad daylight, are consequences that you brought upon yourself, and we have no pity for you. It seems as though, and maybe I have the wrong read on this, I don't know, but it seems as though that criminals are getting the benefit of the doubt more often than they are not. I saw a tweet yesterday, and some guy said that California should bring back the 3 strikes law for violent offenders, armed robbery, and like sexual assault. And that after the 3rd strike, if you're an offender of those 3 things, it is immediate hanging. Like 24 hours right after you hit your 3rd strike, you get hung. And I'm reading that and I was shocked. I was like, wow, that is a ridiculous thing to say. But the more I think about it, and I'm not on board with it, okay, let me put that on. I'm not saying we should go hang criminals. I'm not saying that. What did they do? Did they deserve it?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we should really take a look at how we treat the criminal. Why are we beginning to give the criminal the benefit of the doubt? To me, it seems as though we're creating stories, building bridges, and drawing back their criminality to some unfortunate situation so that the crime that they commit is not their fault, really. It's the fault of some greater thing. It's the fault of the the system.
Right.
All right.
Mental health
system. Love that word, the system. I disagree with that. And then I think you get people who like this guy that tweeted about the 3 strikes rule, and then you get people who are sympathetic to that sort of way of thinking because they're tired of seeing crime. They're tired of seeing women getting smacked in broad daylight and nobody doing anything about it. And tell you what, man, I'd think twice about robbing somebody or hitting somebody if I knew that there was a noose at the other end of that action.
I always wonder why we over police, especially like black and minority neighborhoods for, petty drug crimes and all kinds of shit. But yet we don't do anything, any kind of like policing really for like homeless people and like keep them held accountable for their actions like we do in countries and impoverished areas all over the
Because
country.
Homeless people are barely people. That's a fucked up thing to say, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
In a way,
because you look at a homeless person and you see somebody freaking out on a bench, your heart sinks to the bottom of your stomach and you feel for them, but you walk right on by. Because what can you do?
But if you want to actually help these people, you force them to be clean by putting them in prison.
Is that what happens in prison?
I'd rather...
Do you get clean?
I mean, I would think it's harder to get heroin and meth in prison than it would be on the streets of Seattle or wherever. If it is really a form, I mean, I do believe it's like a form of legal slavery. It'd be better to be doing it to these people who need the help to get clean, and need some kind of focused, guided direction every single day, routine. That is a better way to me to get clean than, in and out of rehab facilities, giving them fucking needles and crack pipes outside. Like, That makes no fucking sense to me.
I don't know, man. Prison is a pretty
putting them into a structured environment.
So if you take an unstable person and then you remove them from the relative stability of, American big city environment, relative stability of that, and then you put them in prison, you're not doing them any help. Yeah, maybe they're getting clean. Maybe they're not taking drugs. To me, it's just like you're just pouring gasoline on that fire. You're creating a whole other problem that shouldn't exist because they're not criminals unless they're criminals, unless they do something criminal. To me, I don't know that taking a drug or being addicted to a drug is a crime. I think I said this before. It's a sin. It's a sickness of the heart and of the mind, and it has nothing to do with your behavior as a criminal. It could lead to things like violent crime, or I remember one time I called the police on some homeless people outside of my apartment in downtown because it sounded like somebody was getting raped. And if it's enough for me to hear something and be like, that sounds like rape, enough to where I'm going to go call the cops. Like it was bad, dude. It was bad. And maybe they're on drugs. I don't know. Like, I don't think if you're in your right mind, you're making those kinds of decisions, but maybe it leads to those kinds of decisions. I don't know, man. I definitely don't like the criminality of using drugs, which is counter to my dislike of the criminality of drugs. If that makes sense. Like, I don't like that drugs are criminal, but I don't like that drug users are criminals. That doesn't mesh. How do you marry the two? I don't know.
Well, everyone on our Facebook poll said yes, they would intervene.
Bullshit
so
liars.
Hello to our liberal listeners.
Yeah, right. I would love to see it.
That'd be a good social experiment to do, like with two actors. A dude just slaps the shit out of another female actor, and then see what people actually do.
Yeah, and then when the guy gets approached, he acts like a maniac. How far do you take it?
Yeah, right. Hey, yeah, get the crazy.
Starts yelling in your face. Sorry, man, sorry, lady, you're on your own.
Go on.
We're both not single, but if you are, I recommend that you shoot your shot always. Two-time Grand Slam champion Garbine Muguruza is now engaged to a fan who asked for a selfie with her in New York City in 2016. How about that? Good 2016 French Open and 2017 Wimbledon champion announced her engagement to Arthur Borges over the weekend via Instagram. She was in New York City during the 2021 U.S. Open, and she went for a walk in Central Park. And she runs into this guy on the street, and he says to her, he recognizes her, says, "Good luck at the U.S. Open." And she thought that he was a handsome fella, and now they're engaged. How about that?
Nice.
How about
that's pretty awesome.
that?
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Rapid fire. Let's see what else is. Sports news. I know you're really chapped about not being able to be in Southern California when the ladies of Perpetual Indulgence, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, make their appearance to be honored at Los Angeles Dodgers Stadium. Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw, none too happy about the honor, has decided to move up his Christian Faith and Family Day to get closer to when they're going to honor these sisters.
I don't know this organization. What is this?
Are you not familiar with the story? Mm-mm. Oh, man. It's been hot news here in Southern California. Let me tell you. Dodgers hold a Pride Night. They have for many years. And during this Pride Night, they were going to honor a bunch of people. I think Billie Jean King was going to be honored and different members of the LGBTQ community. They also were going to honor the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And these are a group of drag queens, I guess you could say, a bunch of men in drag. And they dress up as nuns in a very blasphemous way. And the idea is that they're bringing attention to the centuries, if not decades, if not centuries of bigotry and hatred, you could say, from the Catholic Church towards the LGBTQ community. That's their whole shtick.
Maybe I did hear. Do they invite them, then uninvite them, then reinvite
exactly
them?
What happened.
Okay, I think I did hear about this.
Yeah,
okay.
Not only did they invite them, they were going to honor them. And once it came out they were going to honor them, different churches and Catholic societies in Los Angeles were like, what the fuck? This is crazy. You're going to honor these people? Like their whole thing is to disrespect the Catholic Church. And if that's your whole thing, fine, but you're honoring these people. That's a problem. And so the Dodgers were like, you know what? We've rethought this. We're going to rescind our offer to honor them. We're still going to honor them, but we're not going to honor them publicly at Dodger Stadium on Pride Night. And then the backlash to that backlash was much bigger than the original backlash. And so they said, you know, we've done a lot of thinking on this. We've
sorry.
Reached out to different members of this community, and we've taken a beat, and we've learned so much
We've grown
in our time of meditation. And we apologize to those we've hurt, and we would love the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence to be honored at Pride Night. What were we ever thinking? And so now they're re-invited. And now everyone's like, okay. Fantastic. Like, good for you, baseball team, for taking this courageous stance. And now Clayton Kershaw is like, this is really fucked up. He always holds this Christian Faith Night. Here, I'll read from his own words. I think we were always going to do Christian Faith Day this year, but I think the timing of our announcement was sped up, Kershaw said. Picking a date and doing those different things was part of it as well. Yes, it was in response to highlighting the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence by the Dodgers. Again, if that's your thing, if you're the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, let me pull up some pictures here, then fine. You know, do what you'd like. I do think it's an odd move for the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team to bring these, I don't know, what do you call them? Ladies, gentlemen, these fine folks.
Yeah, fellas.
To Dodger Stadium. But look, here, when they disinvited them, I was actually a little bit upset. Here's your Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Do you see this?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Looks like ICP fans.
Doesn't it? Yeah. There was one, I saw a video, like they had like they were in it must have been the Pride Parade because they were on a float. And there was like I guess a character portraying Jesus on a cross, but he was like using the cross as like a stripper pole, like super disrespectful. And like, if you find that funny, like that's your thing, fine. Like, I really don't care. Do think it's interesting that they're honoring them. And then when they disinvited them, I was upset because you can't pick and choose which LGBTQ plus IA, you know, that you're going to put in your program and honor. And if you've chosen to honor them, you can't disinvite them because there was backlash. You've chosen this. This is what, to me, I think is like part of the issue, is that all of these groups are like in one group. It's all in one group. And so just by association of being at this Pride Night, you have like Billie Jean King, who's like, you'd never think of her, regardless of her thoughts on the Catholic Church, like you would never think of her as somebody who would purposely disrespect anybody, let alone nuns and priests in the Catholic Church, right? Like, just seems like a pretty well-rounded person. And then you have these folks, and they're all in it together, even if they don't want to be. And I don't think that's very fair to everybody in that community, because like, I guarantee there's a lot of people who don't appreciate this. Like, this is ridiculous. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. And you can't pick and choose. You can't like say like, oh, I want to honor these people. I don't want to honor these people. No. You don't have the opportunity to just say, I'm going to do that. You have to embrace all of it. And I'm glad they brought it back. I'm glad that they're honoring that. I really am. Honest to God, truly am glad that they're honoring these people, because you can't just say, I'm going to honor these people, but because these people have the backlash from the church, I'm going to say no. Like, that's weak sauce. You decided to honor them. And I'm glad they are.
All right, you got to stop sharing your screen. I can't keep looking at that.
My bad. I honestly forgot that I was.
Dude, while we're on the religious faith spectrum, do you see that Martin Scorsese met with the Pope this week, and he's going to be doing another movie about Jesus Christ?
Is he really? Is the Pope going to be in it?
I don't think so. He got the Pope's blessing to do it, though, because his last one, you ever seen The Last Temptation of Jesus Christ?
No.
It's about like, it's like a fictional adaptation of Jesus, but like kind of like showing his struggle with, do I want to be this Messiah, this whole, that whole thing, like the Jesus we know, or, you know, do I want to fuck Mary Magdalene? Do I want to, you know, be a man? You know, his struggle between a deity and a human, basically.
Yeah. Relatable.
It caused a lot of backlash in '88 and whatnot, but, Yeah, so apparently that's soon to come. It's going to be his next film. So I'm not a super religious man, but I'm a big film fan, especially Martin Scorsese. So I'll definitely check that out.
The guy who made Goodfellas is going to do a movie about Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
It seems like an easy way to make money, though, man. Like that's a huge base of people. Like The Passion, that was like one of the biggest movies forever. Right. You know, and it's not even in English; it's in Aramaic. It's like it's just a good way to draw people. But now you get someone like a Martin Scorsese telling the story. I'm in, definitely in.
Yep.
That's all it is on that. I just saw it yesterday. I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting. I might tickle Frank's pickle a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. The conversation around this group, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, especially on Twitter, it always devolves back to the Catholic Church's abuses or their cover-ups or their...
Of which there are many.
Misgivings, quite a bit. I think a news story, I mean, dude, a news story comes out like every month it seems, but I feel like it was in Baltimore. Do you hear about this?
It's a news story? No, I don't think so.
I don't know, some thousands of... Baltimore Catholic clergy abused hundreds of children and teens, Attorney General says. In a 463-page investigation released by the Maryland Attorney General detailed an enormous scope and scale of scandal. This was in April. So yeah, like it always devolves back into that. And what do you do if you're the Catholic Church? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's shit. That's kind of, you got to lie in the bed you made, man. You allowed it to go on for years and years and years, decades, you know? And I mean, it's counter to everything you teach. So I don't know.
Do you lean into it?
No, I mean, you crack down on it.
No, I'm not saying do you lean into the abuse. I'm not saying do you continue to abuse children and you grow that program. I'm saying, do you lean into the fact that it happened?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge it. It happened, and probably continues to happen. Not as broad of a scope as it did in the 70s, 80s, 90s, where we hear a lot of these stories from that kind of surface now. But I mean, you have to acknowledge it and say, we fucked up. Yes, we did this for years. You persecute those people, man. You lead the witch hunt to get them into prison. You don't relocate them to another diocese. You know, there was a guy that Pope Francis, I think, relocated to that was a known like pedophile, and he relocated him to like deaf kids or mute kids, and he continued to abuse those like hundreds of kids for years. It's like you don't protect them. It's not a thin blue line. Fuck that bullshit. You have to get this out of your, I mean, you have to get this out of like the scope of what people think when they think of Catholic. And the only way you do that is by aggressively leaning into the fact that it happened and we're going to fix it. Otherwise, they're never going to escape this, dude. And it's going to keep going on because they're protected by the power of the state of the Vatican.
Right. It's you got a worldwide organization with a worldwide epidemic of abuse of children. I don't mean to make light of it and laugh at it, but it's like, how do you fix that problem? Like, where do you like? And I love your idea. Like, I think about this a lot. For whatever reason, I'm sure there are plenty of good ones. We love to invoke World War II and Hitler and Nazis and all the atrocities that we saw before our eyes. We were so shocked as a world and that all of this stuff could happen. And I always think back to this idea because I've had this idea and I feel like everyone's had this idea, particularly before technology was advanced as it was, that nobody's going to find out. Who's going to know that I did this?
Yeah, right.
I think about that all of the time because that must have been the prevailing thought of everybody everywhere thinking that they can keep things under wraps because who's going to find out? Who's going to know? No one's going to know. There's no cameras here. Nobody's going to find out. I can get away with this. And so instead of taking the high route and hanging sexual predators of the church and making examples out of them, they decided to protect them. Like the most interesting move to me.
But the police, as an organization, have protected their own in America for always.
Yes.
It's a tough job, yada, yada, yada. But
right.
Like,
but when you have the law in your hands.
When there's fuckboy cops, they protect them.
Right. Yes. But hold on. That's different because a cop is out there putting their life on the line, and there are way less dirty, bad cops who commit crimes than there are
for sure
priests that have diddled children.
Couldn't you say there's a lot there's more good priests than there are pedophiles?
Yes,
think?
but in the yes, and maybe you could make the case, which you probably would have a good. Now that I'm thinking about it, a good case that if you like studied policing worldwide, that you find corruption as like an epidemic. It's a mainstay in policing worldwide. No matter where you go, police departments are corrupt because absolute power corrupts absolutely. Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you find that. But I think on a grander scale, especially when you're trying to not cede the moral high ground, if you have a worldwide epidemic of your organization of abused children everywhere, like there's no amount of good priests that could drown that out.
Yeah.
I think you do need to make examples, heavy examples, because like if you're, I don't know, man, like if you're not playing by your own book, like what are you doing? Are you you're forgiving these people? Are they gone to confession and now they're good? You know what I mean?
Dude, I swear the church is killing religion these days. I swear to God it is, dude. Like there's so many, we've talked about all the time, there's so many great tenets that you can take from Catholicism, like all the religions, you know, but it's like, and I guess I don't know as much about the church system in Judaism and all these other religions, but.
And I think you and I have the ability
Catholic Church for sure.
to look at it and be like, okay, the sum total of the church is not the excess of abuses. It's definitely a part of it, but it's not the sum total. Correct. And at the expense of defending the Catholic Church, you and I mostly just sit with that information. Like, I know it's not the sum total, and that's good enough for me. So you could excuse the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and people who support them for thinking that they're actually doing a good to society, for mocking this religion that has caused so much pain and suffering amongst children.
That viewpoint.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm on the side of the Catholic Church in this one. Like, I don't really appreciate the public display of contempt and lament towards an organization whose followers, by and large, have nothing to do with the abuses of the church. I guess you could say they're complicit by
supporting it.
But, you know, like these people look to God through the Catholic Church for help, for refuge, for salvation, which is not an idea that we put out into the world anymore. It's for salvation, right? Like, where is forgiveness in American society? Where does that exist outside of the church, right? It's a lot of like, you said the N-word 10 years ago on Twitter. You're fucked, buddy. Like, you're not going to have a job anymore. There's no forgiveness for the growth of the human spirit, mind, psyche. But that exists within the Catholic Church, and people go to the Catholic Church for forgiveness. And so I think that like there is a lot of positives that the Catholic Church then decides to shit all over when they don't do anything about the things that they've done. Real quick, we have to get out of here, but I was flying back from Dallas last week, and I had to fire off an email. So I get right through TSA, and the first thing I see is this little wine bar. And so I go up wasn't even going to drink. I just needed to plug my charger in and fire off this email and then maybe like plug my phone into. And there's this woman from Amarillo, Texas, sitting next to me. And she starts talking to me about the wine she's drinking. And she talks me into buying a glass of wine. Didn't take much effort. And I get the wine and I just, it sets down and I'm writing this email. So I'm not even paying attention to the wine. Like 10 minutes go by and I'm like, oh shit, I have this glass of wine. So I go to take a sip. And she goes, you know, I was just thinking that you weren't drinking your wine. I was thinking it with my mind and you did it. And I go, oh, that's like telekinesis. And she's like, no, that's when you move things with your mind. And I was like, well, what is it? She goes, I don't know the word. I go, well, then I think you're a witch. And
burn her.
And she goes, no, sir. And she pulls out this cross from underneath her blouse. She goes, I am a Christian woman. And then she starts talking to me. She starts, I swear I did not invite this conversation. She goes, I'm a Christian woman, and I think that devils are everywhere in America right now. I think they're everywhere. What do you think? And so I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think
you're sipping your devil juice.
Yeah, right. I did say this. I said, I think we indulge in a lot of the activities that the good book has warned us against. for whatever that's worth. And I thought I was about to have a cool little theological conversation with a nice woman from Amarillo, Texas. And the next words out of her mouth were, and loud as fuck, dude, in a hotel bar or in a bar at the airport, she goes, well, what do you think about the indoctrination of our children? And I was like, oh my God.
Fuck.
There's
Why did I
no
start
way.
talking
There's
to
no
her?
way that she's like having this open conversation with a fucking stranger. So at that point I was like, I don't really know.
I'm getting a call. Sorry.
Yeah. Why I'm like very obviously working. So she I don't know. She kind of like leaves it, and then she like talks about. She goes, well, I'm a Christian woman. Are you a man of faith? I go, I think for like simplicity reason, I said like, yeah, sort of. And she starts talking about her church. Well, I go to this church and this, that, and the other. It seemed like some, like new age Christian kind of church. And she goes, what church do you go to? I go, I don't go to church, but I was raised Catholic. I swear to God, dude. She goes, well, let me push back on that for a second.
Like, God damn it. Why did I start this conversation?
But she starts asking me about confession. And she goes, what gives the priest the right to forgive sins? What gives him that power? And I go, well, I don't think it's the priest that has that power to forgive sins. And she's like, who is it? And I was like, well, and I'm trying to like find the words, and I'm like, and she goes, and I was like, what?
Damn.
Are you serious right now? Dude, like she was being a bitch. So I was like, fuck you. And I was like, it's not the priest. The priest works through Jesus Christ. So you're telling your sins to our Lord and Savior through this priest. He's acting as a speakerphone. He has no more power to forgive sins than you or I or anybody else that's made of flesh. He is only the channel through which you get your sins forgiven. And she goes, well, I hadn't thought of it like that, and I want to thank you for educating me. I was like, oh, okay. This ended up being a kind of a cool conversation after all.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I just thought that was a really funny story.
That is funny.
Talk to women with thick Texas accents in the Dallas airport.
Speaking of confession, do you ever think about like all the shit, especially if like a priest is like a pedo or whatever, like at a Catholic grade school or whatever, like all the guys that are probably like, I was masturbating or like whatever, like how they get like that Catholic guilt of whatever, like what they're doing once they're going through
it's a strong force.
moment in their life when testosterone's higher than it's ever been in your life. And like all these priests are just hearing about all these boys like jerking off. He's just like that's not good. That could be a problem, dude. I don't really understand confession, because it's like, why am I going to tell this motherfucker all the bad things I've done for him to be like, all right, 3 Hail Marys.
Yeah.
The Lord will forgive you.
Yeah.
I never understood that shit. I would never say anything other than like, I was mean to my mom and my brother. And,
well,
like,
that's like I think that's the tenet of a lot of different religions. Like Scientology. Mm-hmm. You say the things that you did wrong all the time. I think that's like a core part of any religion or cult or whatever, is that you confide in somebody your deepest, darkest secrets, with the assumption, in the case of a priest, a Catholic priest, that they're never going to tell anybody, and it's between you and him and God, and that's it. And while that is, I think, really healthy in a way, yeah, it's also incredibly manipulative, because now it's like, well, now God's got you by the balls, and he's doing that through, no pun intended, a priest. But I think it's a very powerful tool that these religions use.
That's true.
And I think it's healthy. I really do. Like, on the whole, I think it's healthy that you confess,
confess
on something and ask for forgiveness. Again, going back to that, that's a theme that I've been kind of focusing on lately, is the theme of forgiveness. Where does forgiveness exist? If we're deciding that as a society we're going to move in the opposite direction of organized religion, there's a lot of things that we need to figure out. One of them being, where does forgiveness fit into all of this? When do we begin to forgive people? And does that come from us? Because it used to come from God. And God used to forgive us. Now God's not forgiving us, or at least we're not asking him for it. Who do we ask for forgiveness from? Because if you ask for forgiveness from your peers, especially a group of peers, then you just basically end up sucking dick, for lack of a better phrase. I can't think of a better phrase, but you just end up groveling. You end up groveling. Yeah. You just grovel. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for my misgivings, for not saying the right thing or thinking the right thing or this, that, and the other. And the problem started with man. So the solution's definitely not with men. Mankind. Yeah. I have to get out of here.
It's with aliens. Oh, before you leave, did you wrap up Succession?
Just last night I did.
We won't give away any spoilers, but were you happy with the ending?
I won't. It was always Tom. It always was. It had to be. I knew it was going to be. I swear I knew it was going to be. We can cut this out. I knew it was going to be. I knew
he was the punching bag.
I knew what the ending
so
was
long.
going to be. I didn't see it happening the exact same way that it happened, but I knew that it was going to be that person.
I knew the show was always a tragedy, but I was getting so much. I was just like happy for Kendall. It seemed like his lifelong, what he always wanted was about to come true. Mm-hmm. Like literally what he wanted since he was 7. And then his sister is the one that I saw an interesting thing that's like the Shiv is now basically becoming her mother because she'll be like the wife of a powerful CEO who's destroyed all the relationships in her family, and her kids will hate her. And it's like, damn, like the writing in that show and like the imagery and like the callbacks that they do is so good. But yeah, man, I just felt for Kendall. I literally thought he was about to kill himself in the last scene.
I thought so too. I thought that the weird man, I thought that he was like a hitman, but that Kendall hired himself.
No, that was his bodyguard.
Is that who it was?
Before in the show. Yeah.
I didn't know who that was. Maybe recency bias, but I think that is the best show ever created.
Well, and then Barry ended on the same night.
No, I haven't.
Did you watch Barry?
No, I haven't seen it since season 2.
The most bleak, sad series ender I've ever seen. But that show is so good. Can't recommend it. You'd love it. If you like Bill Hader, it's so good. It's a great show. It's very well acted, very well written, just like Succession.
Yeah.
And they're only like 30 minutes. They're very digestible. But all right, we'll get out of here. I'm sorry. I'll put a spoiler warning in the show.
Okay.
Just so we don't ruin that for anybody. But if you guys want to find us on our socials, you can find us on Twitter at FriendshipNH. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Friendship News Hour. And you can always send us an email to bummerdude.media@gmail.com. That is bummerdude.media@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Once again, happy birthday to Mia Moore, Sarah Kenzie.
Happy birthday.
And
yes.
We'll see you next week, man. Good luck with the move, Frank.
Thank you. See ya.